Well, all right. Welcome to the Inviting Shift Show on Sunday nights. I love this show because we get to sit around and talk about some subjects and ways that we can really grow. And I was thinking today, well, I'll talk to you a little bit later about that, but I was just thinking about ways that we give our power away. And Jen Danielson's here. We're going to have, hopefully, Michelle Brown join us once the technical glitches go away. And I'm Christina Smith, and I am the host of this show. And I love to talk about things that really matter and how we can really push ourselves forward so that we're not kind of stuck. You know, I feel like I spent 10 to 15 years of my life really stuck in a place where I was just kind of like a zombie going through life, doing the things that I was supposed to do instead of what I could have been doing, you know, really thinking about what I wanted and going for it. Instead, I feel like there was so many instances where I was just, you know, I followed the path that was made for me and I didn't worry about anything that was challenging or what I really wanted. And that's my background. Jen, tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, wow. I am I've done some sort of similar things, but more in waves. I've ended up in situations where I've committed to something, and that commitment has sort of ground me to a halt in a couple of instances. And because I feel so strongly about the commitment, that's it. I get stuck in that space. So otherwise, personally, I am a Reiki master and life coach. I'm also a project and program coordinator in healthcare. So I do a lot of this stuff intellectually, and I know this, and I know all these things. And if I'm speaking with somebody else, it's like, well, of course. But in my own life, I still found that I was getting, hi, Michelle, there you are, getting stuck down in some of this stuff. So working through my own stuff still is always fun.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot about this with my husband about this gift of the human condition, right? I mean, I believe like all energy, this is just, you know, my made up spirituality and what I think, but I believe like all energy is kind of the same. And we're given like different forms that we have to kind of live through. And the human form is so challenging because we are so smart and we can know something without following it or doing it. Or, I mean, how many times women come to me and they want to lose weight, they know what they need to do. Like they already know. I'm not telling them anything brand new, really. Like I might be finding new ways that they could get there, but we all know what's good for us. I know that going to the gym is good for me, but actually getting my butt there, now that's a whole new conversation.
A whole other story, yeah.
Yeah. And welcome, Michelle. I'm so glad that you were able to get on.
I was having trouble connecting. It wouldn't connect on the laptop, the phone. So I finally made it through. How are you guys?
Good. We were so excited because Jen got on, no problems. And, we're like, oh, no.
And I'm the one that usually takes forever.
Really?
But welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We were just introducing ourselves.
Okay. Hi, I'm Crisis Coach Michelle. And as you know, I coach people through their life crisis. Specialize in those who are experiencing, who are dealing with a chronic medical condition.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love this topic for this evening. I read your email. I'm like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm sure in your line, you see a lot of people that, because I think it can be very easy to give up your power when you're ill. I mean, giving your power to an illness or to a label that you give yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
That definitely is. So I wanted to first talk about some ways that we know that we're giving our power away, because when people told me I was giving my power away, I didn't really understand what that meant. And like, what do you mean I'm giving my power away? Because I'm sitting here and complaining and I'm just like, well, because I don't have a positive mindset, but it's more than that. It's how we speak to ourselves, I think, really is where it starts. You know, whether we give our power away to wherever, it starts with the story we kind of tell ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so there's some words that I know when I say them, and this is, thanks to my word cop husband, I know when I say them that I'm giving my power away. And some of those words, I made some notes so I wouldn't forget, is can't is one of them, right? When we say, oh, I can't, and we focus on the things that we feel like can't be done. But there's always another choice, right? I mean, there's sometimes I'll say, oh, I can't do that because I don't have enough time. And it's like, well, if I made time for it, I could do it, right? I'm like, it's not like I can't do it. And that brings up the other one, the but, right? I can't do that, but, you know, or I would love to do that, but, and that's where it stops. Like all of a sudden it cancels out everything we said in the first half. One that I used to do was, you know, I remember when I was really angry after I got a divorce, you know, if he would just blank, I could, whatever, I could be happy, I could do this, or whatever that thing is. So what are the things that, do you ever catch yourself getting into like a victim-y or a powerless state? And what are some of the stories that you tell yourself or words that you use?
One is, they made me mad, or you made me do this, or because no one can make you do anything. You, like I said, you give up your power to, you know, and like you said, it starts with your thoughts, you know, the way you're thinking about the situation. Yeah, but that's some major one. You made me angry. No, you chose to be angry.
And that one triggers me because back in the day before I did, you know, a lot of work, when I met my husband, I would be like, oh my God, you're making me so angry. And he'd be like, I'm not making you angry, because he did the Mankind Project thing and he understands words. And he's like, I'm not making you anything. You know, nothing will piss a woman off more if they're already in a victim space than somebody with a cocky smile going, I ain't doing anything. But it's true, you know, if I allow whatever he's saying or doing to affect me, and I want to be angry, I can find a way to make him angry. You know, like I'm a master at twisting words and what you actually meant. So that's a really good one. Yeah. And it could be, you know, you're making this impossible, you're making me sad, frustrated, whatever. Right. It's a choice. Yeah. We give our power to that person, which I found was so restricting, because when we take on that responsibility of other people being responsible for our feelings, then we also feel like we're responsible for their feelings. Right. So, and that's, you know, that's the double-edged sword, where we also feel like we have to make everybody happy around us, or at least that's what it felt like for me. And when I realized that I was responsible for my own feelings and that was it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, because I no longer had to worry about all the things I thought I was doing to other people. Right. And I only had to worry about, making myself happy, or figuring out how to get through circumstances for myself and not necessarily for other people. And so I think, you know, there's something really empowering about taking responsibility for your own feelings and being able to tell yourself, you know, stories that help instead of hurt.
Right, because it's unfair. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, no, sorry, that's okay. I was just going to say it falls, the last time, echo. There we go, okay. Sort of falls in with the one that kicks up for me is it's a self-imposed, I have to, or because, you know, it's almost that because I said so sort of mentality, because it's I have to do that, and that I have to because that's what other people are expecting, or I have to because that's what I think other people are expecting, or that's the story that I've made up around that, and therefore I'd better finish it up. And that's my moment to stop and go, wait, why do you have to? Who said you had to? Me? Oh, why did I say that? I don't know. So sorry. Go ahead, Michelle. I didn't mean to jump in there, but
no, you were fine. You were fine. No, I was just going to comment on what Christina said. It's actually unfair to the other person for us to make them responsible for our happiness. You know, a lot of times there's a misconception that things and other people and certain events in the right time and the right place bring about our happiness, when that's not true. It's our thoughts towards those things that actually sparks the feeling of happiness. But we give our power away in so many ways. And one of the, I should say this, that's what I'm looking for. One of the most ways, I guess, is what I'm looking for, that's proper English, is our thoughts towards things, and especially our thoughts towards ourselves. And we relinquish our power right there. And then, like you said, the I shouldas and the you make me, and I can't, which is a major one. I can't. And there's a saying, I can't remember if it was one of them, I forget who said it, but it says the person who says I can't, and the person who says I can, they're both right.
They're both right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That.
Yeah.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that so many people look at that like, oh, it's just some kind of crazy psychology,
Right.
but it's the truth. Like what we focus on is our target. So if we're focusing on the things that we can't do or the restrictions or any of that stuff and the problems instead of the solution. Oh, Henry Ford said it. I thought it was Lincoln that
Oh,
said
was it Henry Ford? Okay.
it. Could be either one, but it's still true either way.
Right. No matter who said it.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's important, the word. So I said that my husband's a word cop. I probably would have struggled to have real growth unless I saw how many times I was saying I can't, or I don't have time, or, I can't, whatever the thing was, whatever the words were. If this person, all my ranting and raving, really, is that person making you mad? Or are you choosing to like those? It seems so petty, and let me tell you, sometimes when I want to, just rant and rave, he lets me do it now. I let him know. I don't want feedback. I just want to rant. But, and he'll still word cop me, and I think it's important. And another one is this one's a little less victim-y, but at the same time, if we don't use I statements, if I don't use I statements, I mean, right there, right? I generalize what I'm feeling, which means that I need everybody else to feel the same way so that I can feel justified.
Right.
I can feel I'm okay with this. So I statements is a powerful, powerful tool, especially when you're trying to work through emotional garbage or you're giving all of your power away to your own emotions. You have to own those feelings like out loud, I'm freaking mad, And it can do damage to, more than just, the people around you or the stuff around you. It does damage to yourself. My husband's reading this book by Dr. Sarno about how anger, or you can trap any emotion in the body and it can cause you pain. And so he's trying to work out his back pain and his anger issues. But it works, a lot of times we physically store those emotions.
Yeah.
So we've talked about how we can recognize those emotions and those things in ourselves, like how we are, how we see that show up. And for me, like I said, words is a big one for me. When I feel like I'm stuck or challenged, I was just talking to Jen before we started recording, challenged by, I have a new role of working with volunteers, and sometimes they're a little challenging.
Okay.
And yet I'm the director, so I need to, handle them with grace. And I could easily give my power away to those women, right? I could easily say, oh, I just can't do this job, or I can't get anything done, or I can't do this because of this problem here. Or I could say, okay, so what is the solution here, and that's what I focus on. That really helps me, because I start focusing on the solution. What are their gifts? How do they want to work? How can I get, what I need done, this list, to somehow fit in this, and, and rise above going into my emotion about it, because I think we can get so trapped by our trigger and our emotion and things, and then we react rather than really think about it. And that's one way that we become victims too. So let's talk about what we give our power to. What are some of the most popular things that we give our power to?
Oh, time.
Yeah.
Scheduling. Time. Absolutely. For me anyway, I will take that one. Yes, just constant the calendar and falling into, oh well, I can't because, or I can, or I will because I more often it's because I do see a half an hour time slot in there, so I'll squeeze it in, and then fall total victim to the running late and the pressures and being frazzled and not being able to be present to whatever it is I'm doing because I'm already on to the next thing. But I set myself up for that.
Yeah.
People, we do give a lot of our power to other people, with the expectation, and when they don't meet our expectations, then now we're left not knowing what to do when we shouldn't have given them our power or had those expectations. Because it's okay to have expectations, but you have to also understand if that person doesn't meet that expectation, you got to learn how to adjust. Yes. But we definitely give a lot of our power to people, events, events that don't go our way. And like you said, definitely if you're faced with some type of crisis or you're some illness, a lot of times we give our power away to that as well, not realizing how powerful we really are. But we'll relinquish it at any given moment freely when we shouldn't.
Yeah, and that's what Empress Lila over here said. She said that time thing is so serious that that she's learned that just because her calendar isn't full doesn't mean that she's available to others. And I think that that's so important.
It really is.
Especially for women who are entrepreneurs or driven. Like I know I'm driven. And so I will try to, it's like origami, my calendar. Like I'm trying to squeeze things in there and let me just see if I can fold that in. And it's like, it's with good intention. It's not like I'm filling my day with things I hate to do.
Right.
The thing is, I have so many passions. Like I, do the volunteer board. I do writing for a company. I do marketing for another company. I do my coaching. I write books. Like I am so multi-passionate that I can easily give my power to too many ideas even. I mean, that's something that people don't talk about a lot, but I give my focus away to too many ideas. And the other big one for me is my emotions. I can give into my emotions and just say, well, I was angry, so of course I ripped the cabinets off the wall,
That's how we deal with stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't my anger's fault, then it was the person who, of course, made me
angry.
Whoever it wasn't my fault, Yeah. And that's what we have to. I think that's the balance of it, is constantly trying to remember that it's all a choice. This is the choice. How do I want to show up? And that's one question that I ask myself constantly now. Is this how you want to show up? And maybe sometimes there are days that I need to go destroy something, or I do it safely now. But I have the power to choose that, right? I do this thing, and I do it at Circle too, but I beat my couches with a tennis racket if I get really angry, but it's a really great way to get all of that anger out and clean my couches all in one.
But you have that knowledge and those options, and you've got those available to you now too. Whereas, first up, it might have just been, damn it, those cabinets are in front of me and they're going to get it.
Right. And it's experience of how you were raised, right? Yeah, exactly, Lila. It depends on how you were raised. If I was raised in a house where anger was allowed to be expressed, in fact, it was probably the only emotion that was allowed to be expressed. So I learned how to deal with my anger in a much different way than my husband did, where anger was not allowed. And, you just put a freaking smile on your face, So my anger comes out a lot differently than my husband's. And I don't want to analyze that, but, but not right now.
Pillows are good. Pillows are very good. Do that one too.
Yeah. So emotions are a big one. And, anytime that we play the blame game, that's whatever we're blaming the thing on. I know Brene Brown does this really short clip on, on using the blame game, because it's easy and we don't have to take responsibility. And, it's so simple when, I can't be happy because of that person or this circumstance. I mean, how many times I've told myself, well, I can't do that because I'm not in a financial spot to, you know, take a risk like that, or I can't do this because I don't know, it's going to mess up my hair. Who knows? But we come up with a million excuses, and really excuses is how we give our power away, right? And it's not, doesn't mean that you have to meet every goal. It's about being really conscious and honest with yourself. I think, you know, like if I'm choosing not to get this goal done, let me at least be honest with myself and say, I'm no longer going for that goal. Right. So, you know, I'm going to focus on this. It's really about truly being honest with yourself, I believe. And we can't see our responsibility in things until we can see our choice in the matter.
Exactly.
And Michelle, tell us a little bit about how, because you have a unique clientele where they are, you know, often, you know, ill people, you know, people with diseases that they have to manage and learn to live with again. And so how does it look when people are giving up their power to illness? Because I know I did it for a while.
Yeah, I did also.
And you did too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. For a long time. But I think what it is, a lot of it, because they look at what they quote unquote lost. They always look like, okay, I can't do this anymore, or I can't go here anymore. And so now they think the quality of their life is no longer. So then they just relinquish every, you know, all their power, not realizing that it's your choices, it's the way you look at it, the way you think about it. You can still have a great quality of life. I look at it this way, especially those that are maybe confined to wheelchairs or, you know, or not walking. Always say you still can enjoy life. You're just going to do it from a seated position. You determine the quality of the life you're going to have. But a lot of them, like I said, myself included, we relinquish our power thinking this is the end of the road for us because we're not quote unquote normal. But I always say, describe normal. What is normal? You determine what normal is. You know, but a lot of times it's because they're not doing the things they used to do or doing the things that they see others do. They just relinquish all power. Like, this is it. Oh, woe with me. I'm horrible. I'm, you know, and they go into states of depression and so forth and so on. But it all, if you can change the way you view it, you can change your perception about it, you can still have a great, maybe even a better quality of life than you did prior to your diagnosis. So it was all, like I said, not relinquishing that power. And you started with your thoughts, the way you are perceiving what you're going through. And I had to do it because I thought I was in the road. I'm done this no more. And I grieved the life I thought I was going to be missing. And then I didn't, until I changed the way I viewed it and realized, okay, I still can live life. I still can enjoy life. I just had to modify certain things, but I still have, you know, within me, unlimited resources, unlimited power, unlimited strength. And then that's when I was able to gain my power. And that's what I try to tell my clients, the same way, you know, the same. First of all, change the way you're looking at it. Yes, you may have to adjust to certain things. Yes, you may have to modify, but you do not have to accommodate. It's a difference. Yeah.
Well, I think you sort of alluded to that earlier, even too. You talked about it being that sort of, because I heard from the first part, that external focus of the things that you're missing, that grass is always greener on the other side kind of thing. Exactly. And to come back to that internal place and go, okay, what is it that I have, that I can, that I want, that I do?
Yes.
And draw from that strength. Absolutely. Because it is so easy to, you're right, to look out and go, what am I missing? What have I not got? What have I, what are these external influences that are making my life suck?
Right, exactly.
Instead of, what am I bringing to the table that's making it work?
Absolutely.
And it's a funny balance. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it's a funny balance because you've got the, you know, there are external influences. They happen, they're there, they exist. And sometimes they do put up blocks and preventions, but it's that how, you know, do you push up against it or do you walk around? Do you turn around and walk back the other way? That's the piece of your choice in that, I think.
Exactly.
But anyway, sorry, Christina, go ahead.
No, I mean, exactly what I was going to say is it's like that, again, it's about that contrast between the human ego and the spirit, right? With this energy that we all kind of share. And it's that human piece of us that wants, you know, that's going to want to trap us. And And so, you know, it's not to say that, you know, myself, Jen, and Michelle have figured it all out, and we
Right.
don't ever give our power away to our
Oh wow!
all the time.
No.
Because it's not like that. I mean, it's humanness, you know, it's part of the human condition that we have this ego that wants to fight, you know, and wants to make itself powerless sometimes. I know for me, when I'm not, there was an addiction counselor once that had this acronym, and I forget what it's called. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, sick. Whenever you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, sick, you risk falling into not helping people.
Yes.
Because you're not at your best, you're not making the best choices. And I can tell you, I can get hangry.
Oh my God! Yes.
If I'm hangry, I'm making bad decisions. I'm having sugar because I want it quick.
Yeah.
I'm not making the best decision. Like, that is not a time for me to make business decisions. Like, really, you have to make the emotional decision every time. And so I have to, that's an awareness I have about myself. I give my power away when I'm tired or early in the morning. I don't want to deal with it. There are certain times. So
absolutely. No, sugar, sleep, two big ones right there. Or if just the stress, the tension, the whole, I've been sitting at my computer too long, I'm curled and I'm just, everything's out of whack. And that's what, I'm not going to be a happy camper at that point. I'm not going to be looking for the right thing. I'm going to be looking to point it at anybody else at that point, for sure.
Absolutely.
Michelle, it's a little loud there.
Okay, you give me 1 second.
Okay.
I wasn't sure where that was going. That's okay.
Guys. Yeah, because it's messing up our recording. Thank you.
Sounds like they're having fun.
Sorry about that. I thought I had the mic to my mouth, so I thought maybe it wasn't picking it up, but it did. I apologize.
No, that's all right. That's right. I didn't know. Yeah, but that's how we give our power away. So how do we take our power back? That's what I think is so important, is ways that we can take our power back. And one way that I do it, like I said, I catch myself with words, so I also change my language when I speak it.
Yeah.
And so the can'ts, become choices. I choose not to do this because I have other things on my schedule that are more important. Like, that is a choice. That is not saying I can't do it. I could do it anytime I wanted to make time for it, but I'm not wanting to make time for it, so I'm not going to do it. So that just reinforces in our brain that it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's not off the board. Like, you don't have to throw it away and never look at that choice again. But for now, I'm not doing this thing.
Right.
Or the buts, I've been taught to change my buts to ands.
Mm-hmm.
So this and this. So it's and both. Because usually when we're using buts, both statements are true. I want to go hang out with my kid and I have to get the show done or whatever, they're both. And so by saying but, that's kind of putting in our mind that we're not getting what we want. And really, both statements can be true, rather than, I think that what it does is it black and white things where, it's either yes or a no. And that's, again, it gives up our choice.
Right.
What are some ways that you ladies take back your power?
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. No, language is definitely a big one for me as well, just rephrasing things. And the other one comes down to regrouping on and really consciously thinking about what I have control over and what I have choice over, and that sort of sphere of control and then the sphere of influence idea in terms of, okay, there are external things coming at me. And where is that impact? Is the impact that close in and tight to me, or really is it out here and where is my wiggle room, and really testing that boundary and how far can I push that wiggle room and how much. And I always, I will use the word, and I know you're not supposed to, find that I have more control and influence than I originally thought I did, and more space to turn around and more space to move. And it may not be as far as I want, but it's a lot more than I thought I had. And, yeah, you come up with some, that's where you start to come up with some options that all of a sudden weren't there. But it is a really, and still a really conscious effort to stop and sit and take a moment and kind of go. And then people look at you and go, why are you not answering? Why are you not responding? Because I'm thinking, trying not to blame you here. So yeah, it's a conscious thing still. But that's my go-to. Once I either hear it, or Christine, you said your husband points it out. My husband's really good at telling me when I start a sentence with the word no, and it's usually followed by but. So that's also the same point where I go, okay, let's think about this for a second.
Yeah.
Yes. And with me also is language. You know, like you said, the buts and you made me. But also I always ask myself when I feel myself giving away my power, like, okay, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you thinking towards this? Does it making you feel like someone else did this to you, or you didn't get everything on your schedule, you know, accomplished? And I like one thing that Christina said earlier, and I think I'm gonna use that, where, okay, I have to do this, and like, I have to get this project done. And instead of, but I have this over here also, but, and I also have this. So I am going to utilize that as well. But yeah, with me, it's the language. And also I always stop and ask myself, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts towards this? When this is what's causing the anger, or this is what's causing the stress and the you relinquish your power. What are your thoughts towards this? And then that usually, once I take a step back, then I usually get it together. But I don't always get it right, but that does help.
Hey, we can be conscious and still make the choice that is exactly the correct for us.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's all right. It's all good. I think for me, one of the big things too is the blaming thing. Like Brene Brown says, when we're blaming, we're not looking at how to solve the problem. Right? You know, we're not focused on what we really want, and what we really want is for the problem not to be there. Right? So.
Right. Exactly.
If we stop to focus on what the problem is and whose fault it is, we're no longer really doing what we want in the situation. So I think it's really about focusing, you know, your attention on, I say this so many times, someday somebody's just going to say, that's Christina. But if we focus on what we want rather than, you know, the problems, you know, I'm not saying don't solve the problems, but focus on the resolution to the problems rather than getting stuck in that spot where you're just comparing or despairing or, you know, doing that stuck thing and not doing anything, because that's not going to get you where you want either. And like Michelle said earlier, if we're depending on the other person or the circumstance to change, I mean, we could hang on to that for a long, long time.
Well, and it's either a problem that you've made up in your head that you can then unravel, or it's a problem that you didn't make up in your head. It's from the outside and you can then move around it.
Yes.
Or turn the other way. But yeah, it's just to sit there and stare at the problem isn't, or let it grow to such a point that you're completely blocked is not right. No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that you hit on something really big there, is that story. What is the story that we're telling ourselves about the data? I think so often that's where we start giving our power away, right? Because it's not that this person walked in the room and walked out, it's that they slammed the door when they came in, and then they just walked out without saying anything. And, you know, and I can't be happy if that's the way they're going to act. And Lila, how are you doing?
Hi, Lila.
Hi, Lila.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Christina, Michelle. It's very
nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Did you have something to hit
on? So I wanted to pop on and chime in. This is actually one of my favorite topics because I enjoy working with women who feel pushed around by life and showing them how they can live their life on their terms. So I was like, yeah, I'll get on camera in my pajamas. Why not?
It's Sunday night.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm one of those people who's like, I changed out of my daytime pajamas to get into my bedtime pajamas. My life.
I
So
hear you. I put on a
always in my
shirt today.
But the thing about taking your power back that you guys were talking about a few moments ago, I was, grabbing the camera and warning the children not to come into my bedroom. Sometimes there's so much resistance or pain or discomfort or whatever it is that the only way we can get back to that place of power, and it's my favorite thing, is to just not. Take a nap, read a book, take a bath, take a shower. Particularly when other people are involved. My children, I have 3 of them. Anybody want some little boys? I have 2. I will mail them right over to you. But they clean like little boys. So like I go downstairs and there's cupcake crumbs under the table. I'm like, dude, you're 8. Like seriously. And when I'm stressed out and tired, hungry, sad, all those things you were talking about earlier, I'm like dragon mommy. And so I don't want to be that person. And I locked myself in my bedroom for 3 days. And they're like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And then after 3 days, I came out, took all of the electronics and was like, we're going to clean the house. And I got to stay in my power. I got to show up the way I wanted to show up as a mom. I don't want to be that mom. I have a vision and I don't want to be that mom that's dragon mommy. And I sit them down and I talk to them about it. I'm like, I don't want to give you my emotions. I don't want you to make you feel like it's your fault that I feel how I feel, but I am angry that there's crumbs on the floor. So now that I'm calm, we're going to sleep. But it's taking that step back and soothing myself with Netflix in my bed, because my bed's my happy place. That got me back into the position where I could be mommy, coming from a place of power and lead them and not emotionally dump all over them. So sometimes the best way to get back to your power is to take a nap or a Netflix binge in my case.
That's my go-to also, Netflix.
Yeah, and I think that that's an important point, though, because it's really, really difficult to take our power back when we don't take really good care of ourselves. Because we can then get into that, I need to serve everybody else, and I'm trying to make everybody else happy, so I don't have time to take care of myself, and we just discuss this, like, you can't possibly make other people happy, you can only make yourself happy. So I give everyone permission to go take care of themselves, lock themselves in their room if they need to. Netflix. But you bring up a really great point, though. So next Sunday, I'm starting, there's no show, but I think I'll have a different show because I am going to start a 21-day Netflix blackout. Like, no more Netflix for 21 days. Because let me tell you, Orange is the New Black came out. Grey's Anatomy, new season came out. I was stuck in front of the TV, and it was hard for me to even work because I get involved in the story. I know they're not real, but I get involved, and so I can give my power to TV very, very easily. And I think the occasional Netflix binge is perfectly okay. I mean, do not think that's self-care sometimes. But I also know when I can go overboard and I'm not getting some of the things done that I want to get done. Okay. And I know that, sitting in front of the TV isn't exactly helping inspire me to get it done. So I still take care of myself, but just in more inspiring ways. But
I have a social media curfew.
Yeah.
I literally have it on my phone, and at 8:30, I'm like, I'm done. I'm completely done. I have to exit Facebook. I won't put the app on my phone because I don't have any discipline or self-control. I let my friend know. I'm like, okay, it's 8:30. I'm out of here, and then I'm done.
Facebook, I've gotten really
That's a
good at
very
doing
good idea.
business and getting out, because I could be stuck on there, and especially in a political year.
Oh,
You know, it's
yeah.
too much for my empathetic self to like take in all the garbage that's out there, and I don't even. So I've been on blackout, and I am really good at taking people off my timeline if they say or believe in things that trigger me. Like I don't want to be triggered when I'm on Facebook. I just want to be there to hear all the happy things, or you know, see if somebody needs support, but in a real way, not in a way that's going to trigger me.
Right.
Well, see, and it's weird, it's weird because I can go in and I can look at fluffy kitty pictures for 5 minutes and go, yay, fluffy kitties, I feel better now. But if I get into those news feeds and the comments and the stories, and I go, oh, and I'm Canadian. I'm not even in the States, you guys. And I'm sorry, I can't handle it. I just go down this rabbit hole and gone.
Right.
Gone.
And what I usually do because I used to do the same thing when I read Facebook, like you said, go right into the rabbit hole. So now what I do when I read, I try to, which is exhausting after a while when you're reading and you try to separate your thoughts from what you're reading, and it's so exhausting sometimes. And I say, okay, I'm not going to go in there. But when I do go in there, if I find myself going down the rabbit hole, I'm like, okay, all right, relax, pick out the things that you want to read that are helpful, and the ones that you don't want to read, don't read them. Because a lot of times, out of curiosity, I'm reading them, or I want to comment, I'm like, what? Stop, nope. It's not worth the energy. And I am in Netflix. That's my happy place. And like you said, the Grey's Anatomy's on there now. I was actually watching today on break. So whenever I have to break away from work, I go to Netflix. So, but I do have to time myself. You know, I give myself a curfew.
Exactly. Because in the summertime, I can become a night owl. I could watch it all night and then like be like, yeah, I'll get up in the morning, and then in the morning I'm like angry.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have two problems: Scandal and being Mary Jane. That's it. So yeah, a weekend and I'm done. I watched Being Mary Jane so fast. I was like, it's over? What happened?
I have a few, and I don't want to know when the new seasons come out. I'm like, no, I'm just not doing it anymore. Until the end of July, I'm not doing it. So we'll see.
But that's another conscious choice then you've made. You sit there and say, okay, that's it. Here's the boundary. Right. Here's the timeline. Here's the, I know. And then you regroup at the end of July and go, okay, well, now here goes the rest of my summer. But that's a conscious choice. And that comes back to going, okay, external forces that will suck my entire summer evenings away from me.
Yeah, well, and exactly. And summer is one of my favorite seasons. And I feel like winter is such a good Netflix season because I am the snow bunny. I do not like the cold. I mean, because I work from home, like I had to take my son to school a couple of mornings, and I was like, holy cow, you guys do this every morning? It's freaking cold down here. Like, has it been like this all winter?
Yeah, I have a complete fund so that I don't work during their winter break. I'm like, oh, December through, mid-December through early January, we're all tucked in front of the fireplace.
Yeah.
Except for grocery shopping, I still have to do that.
And it can be self-care, but for me, I know when I go overboard and I start getting involved, and it's like, you can't tear me away. It's like, okay, I got 26 minutes until I have to do something. I think I can watch half of Grey's Anatomy. And it's like, come on, girl. Time to cut it off. I'm like, when's the last time I read a book for my business? And I'm like, wow. I'm like, it's time to cut it off. So just a little break. And I think a little break in anything, whether it's detoxing your food or detoxing what you put on your body, whatever it is, I think it's always good to take a little break just to be aware. I mean, I think that's what fasting used to be in spiritual practice, right? Was to be really aware how food affects us, how we need certain things, and to be really grateful, which is one thing I was going to say about Michelle, back to what Michelle was saying about taking our power back. I think one of the biggest spots is when we start being grateful and practicing gratitude, every day. And that's where we can start getting our power back. Because once we realize how much power we already have. I mean, I think that we're all so much more powerful than we ever could believe.
Oh, yeah.
We have all these stories that just keep us hidden and weighed down. But if we could really unwind some of those stories and really be grateful for all the gifts that we've gotten, even through all those, I mean, horrible things that could have happened to us, there's always a gift in it, you know, like,
Oh, yeah.
like Michelle isn't fond of having the MS, and yet she has found a lot of gifts in it. And for me, you know, I've been making a big deal on my list lately. I didn't appreciate getting sick in my 30s either. I had ulcerative colitis, and I was going to the hospital 3-4 times a year, and it was taking me out, putting me in bed for at least half the year. And that was miserable to me. And now I'm 40, and I mean, my life is better. Not quite 40. I'm going to be 40, but my life is better than it ever has been. Like, I wouldn't go back to 30. I wouldn't go back to 20, none of that, because right now I have the best life that I could even imagine at 40. So, I mean, there are gifts in these things. And so I think it's like what we were saying, you know, it depends on what we focus on. Are we focusing on the can't haves, you know, things that aren't happening for us the way we want them to? Or are we focusing on how to actually get there? Okay, this new thing popped up, or this person popped up, and it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. So how do I get there? How do I, you know, and I talk about archetypes a lot. So my queen is the one that kind of manipulates all the other archetypes. So she knows which one to pull up. Do I need the magician to make something really freaking magical happen here? Do I need the witch to create something? Do I need the warrior to do some type of mission? And that really helps me clarify to myself, you know, like, what is the power I need right now to get me past this obstacle?
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. That's really, like, I'm a word nerd too. So that question, and we don't have to have the answer to the question. Just asking the question sets our energy in the right direction for the answer to come to us.
Right.
I wanted to speak a little bit about gratitude, because I have an interesting take on gratitude. I do know for sure that giving thanks for what we have creates more, and what you focus on expands. But I have a practice that I like to call extreme gratitude, and it came from a book called Make Miracles in 40 Days by Melody Beattie. And it is giving thanks, not feeling grateful. You can't feel grateful for this, but giving thanks for the crappy things in your life. So, like, I give thanks that my neighbor sucks. She does. And I, you know, there were when I first started this practice, I was living with roommates, and we had 6 weeks to find a place to live. Me, 3 children, $700 in the bank. I'm pretty sure I had bad credit, but I hadn't looked at my credit in a while, so I don't know for sure that it was bad. I just thought it was bad. And no car, and a sketchy freelance income, and I needed to house the babies. Like, that was it. And 3 weeks into the practice, we were in a stable living space. And that lasted for a year. And then we were in our own living space. And it's been 2 years. And it just gets better and better. Nice. So it's, you know, 5 to 10 things. And you can do this with an accountability partner. You could do it on your own. Make sure that if you're going to do it with an accountability partner, you do it with someone that you trust not to judge. And you can't bring each other's lists back to each other later. So, like, if I put on my list, if you're my accountability partner, Jen, and I put on my list, you know, I give thanks that I drank 3 bottles of wine last night. Mm-hmm. We can't be like, oh, honey, here's the number to AA. Yeah. You just have to, you know, like, you just have to witness it and keep it moving, and know that the process will work the alcoholic out of me. That would never happen. If I drank 3 bottles of wine in a night, I'd be gone. Just gone. Anyway,
have you ever heard of an organization called Woman Within? Because those are some of the skills that we teach women in order to sit in circle with other women and be able to support them properly without giving advice, without, judging them or any of that stuff, like a place where women can come bring whatever it is that they have to say. And I mean, unless you're suicidal, that we might, be more concerned and want to report. But that's exactly what it is. And we never speak about what happens in circles. So if I see you a year later and you're drinking 3 bottles of wine, I'm not going to be like, Lila, now what the hell, last year you were drinking 3 bottles of wine and this year you're drinking, I mean, outside a circle, we might show concern, but I mean, for the most part, we're taught not to rescue people, not to be like, oh, but you know what, you're so good at that. So why would you be upset? Because that to me is judgment as well, because it's not about what you think, it's about what I think. So it's a good organization for you to think about.
Heard of it. Is that the group? I'll check it out. But the idea is that we get all of these negative things stuck in us, and the extreme gratitude allows us to get it out, and then life can happen through us. It is literally a miracle making process. So yeah, I wanted to share that because a lot of times when gratitude comes up, it's the fluffy gratitude. I am grateful for the roof over my head. I am. But also on my extreme gratitude list is the fact that ants crawl in through my baseboards because my landlord sucks and won't seal off the baseboards.
Yeah.
So I don't feel warm and fluffy about the ants crawling in, but I feel warm and fluffy about the roof. And at the time that I started this practice, there wasn't a lot that I felt warm and fluffy about because I was terrified about how the hell am I going to keep a roof over these kids' head. So that practice allowed me to get that out of me and to make a room for the miracle. And when the miracle showed up, I didn't know it was a miracle. I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, I think that's so true because we're opening up opportunities in a place that could be negative. Like when you said my neighbor sucks, that reminded me of my apartment where I had this neighbor that really sucked and really triggered us to look for a house before we got married rather than, spend the money on that. And what a freaking gift when I'm walking out of that place because I had this really great house and they had to stay stuck in that shitty place. And I was just like, thank you.
But we ended up moving in with my children's father. And I was like, he made the offer and I was like, no, God, you need to do something different. And God was like, yeah, no, this is your answer to your prayer. And I was like, but a year later, like, to make a long story less long, I don't have to explain to them about their father. They got to have an experience when they're old enough to remember it, because now they remember. They were, I think, 9, 6, and 4 at the time, or 5, 7, and 9. So they remember that experience of, being with him and him not being here and all of those things. So it wasn't like I took them away from him, because that was one of, the thoughts in my head. I didn't have to do anything. That worked itself out on its own. So that was one of the blessings of that situation. Besides the rent-free roof for 8 months, that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah, and I think it's just so important that we just stay open. When things show up that we don't like, we stay open to what the purpose is for them to be here. I mean, most things that have happened to me, there's a gift behind it. This challenging volunteer I had to deal with this week, the gift is that I get to pull out my queen archetype, brush her off, and really, trot her around. I get to practice, these different roles in my life. I get different skills because I start looking to people. Like I was telling Jan, I went to one of my old bosses and was like, how were you this type of leader? Like, how do you know how to communicate these awful things to people without them like wanting to bite your head off, so it's about learning, and for me, it's constantly brushing up on skills, which is why I am giving up Netflix, because there are some skills that I need to learn and I would do better. I would feel better and I would have better self-care. I mean, for my own self-care's sake, to go read books about those or, watch seminars on it rather than sit in front of the TV and find out what's going on on this other TV show, you know, because that's always going to be there. I can do that, but I need that knowledge now. So I think that we're all pretty clear. I mean, it basically comes back from taking responsibility over your choices, you know, and knowing where your choices are. Because so often, you know, like Michelle had pointed out earlier, sometimes we don't know things are a choice. We don't know that there's other options out there. You know, we think we have to. I mean, this happens with my task list all the time. We think we have to, right? I mean, because that person told me this thing was important for me to do, so I need to do this or whatever it is. And I go back to Clay Green's been on the show before, and his big thing is always the why. Why is that on my list? You know, what is the priority?
Yep.
And really looking at, you know, I said that these 3 things were really, really important to me, you know, like hanging out with my family and taking care of myself. So why on my schedule do they have like this much time? You know, if those are my most important, why am I scheduling it like this? You know, and it's just constant consciousness about it and focus on opportunities. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Because we're at an hour, so I just want to wrap up, but I want to hear final thoughts from everybody.
The only thing that comes up to me around that, when you say that, the image I always end up coming with this. Oh, I got echo again. It'll go away. The image I always end up coming up with around that is, and this is what I thought of when you mentioned your queen coming out and figuring out who needs what. Something new comes up or something pops into the schedule, and it's that prioritization piece, and it's not necessarily a matter of even yes or no, but if I do, what then happens to the rest of it? So it's not the but, it's the and acknowledging that with the and, there's going to be, something's going to give, something's going to pull on that balance, something's going to shift. And I always end up looking at almost a spider web or a chessboard or something, and moving those little pieces around a little bit and seeing where everything's going to land. And is it a temporary shift? Is it a permanent shift? Am I cool with that? Because that comes back to the time and the have tos or the shoulds. And if I should be doing all of this, how much family time should I or do I feel I need to be doing? And how much photography do I feel I need to be doing? Really? Do I need to be doing that? Or what are all these pieces in play that are gonna get impacted if I add this next thing, this other goal? And is the goal is worthy? Absolutely. But what happens if I do it? Or what happens if I choose not to? And I'm allowed to choose not to. And I always have to have that, you know, and I'm allowed to choose not to piece on there too.
Yeah, I just ordered a whole bunch of books on Amazon. One of the books that my boss had recommended was something about essentialism. So I'm going to get that book, because it's about deciding what you really need to focus on, because that is so difficult. Everything is important to me. You know, I used to be sad because I couldn't find anything to be inspired by. And now all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, but I want to do that. And I want to do that. And I want to do that. And it's like feast or famine sometimes. Michelle, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, well, we, like you were saying, we have to learn to not relinquish our power. And we have to realize, like you said, even with our planning of our schedules and what's important, what needs to be done, we always have to allow for the unexpected. So if I have my calendar full, or I have these projects and I'm trying to decide which one to do, I have to say, okay, this is the plan, but I'm also open for whatever may happen. Because a lot of times we know our plans don't go as we plan. And then we get frustrated, and then now we're giving up our power because now we're mad, or we're mad because this happened or that happened or someone said something. But if we plan and then stay open for however that plan unfolds, so, and I think that will help us balance out, whatever we need or whatever we, try to put together. But and I always go back to, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts? When you're making, what are your thoughts? If you're trying to keep control and you're trying not to relinquish your power, what are your thoughts towards everything? To everything you're doing, everything, you're planning, are you allowing yourselves, what are you envision? What are you, the whole kick and caboodle. But yeah, definitely guard your thoughts, because your thoughts control a lot. And we underestimate our thoughts. I think we do. We underestimate their power, and the way your perception of things, it will affect everything you do. Whether you give your power away, or whether you keep your power, or whether you move it forward. So yes, my final thoughts is, are we going to always get it right? Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. But if we can limit or decrease the amount of times we don't get it right, and increase when we do get it right, then we pretty much headed the game.
Yep. And yeah, exactly. Perception is everything, how we perceive things. It's so funny because this past week, somebody on my timeline posted this video of a little girl. She was like 2 years old, and she was practicing on like a pole dancing pole.
Uh-huh.
And the person who posted it said, "Oh my God, this is awful. How dare they have a 2-year-old at a pole, because of stripping and all that." And I was like, it didn't even occur to me, because in the background is like dancers and leotards and ballet shoes. It's not like it was like at some club or something. And I'm like, it's your perception. If you come at it like it's an exercise, like it's, gymnastic like. I mean, I've seen people on those things that look acrobatic and beautiful and fully clothed, But
I have had to climb one of those, and the strength that it takes, let me just say.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. And that's how I see it. But now this was coming from a girl who once worked in a strip club. So her perception is completely different. It doesn't mean that either one of them are wrong.
Right.
Just it's one way to remember that there's so many ways to look at something. That some people see a rose and see something beautiful, and some people see a rose and go, "Why does it stink so much?" So perception really has to do with it. And that has to do with the story that you're telling yourself. And, whether we give our power to somebody else or we decide to keep it for ourselves, that's a story. When we play victim, when we play martyr, that's a story we're telling ourselves. It doesn't have to be that way. It's a choice that we're making. And Lila, do you have any additional, any last thoughts?
I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on what you said about spending time with your family and how it has so much in your calendar versus the other things. And you are actually in the right direction and on the right path, because knowing what you value and making your decisions from that place is the most powerful place that you can be in, which is why before I agree to anything, I ask if it lights me up. Before I answer this phone call, my friend is calling me. I know that she wants to talk to me. I know that she might, be in need, but is talking to her going to light me up right now? Phone might get set aside, or I might answer and say, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? What do you need?" So it just depends on, in that moment, does this light me up? You need a sitter because you need to get to work and you have 4 kids. And I remember being in that space, but is it going to light me up to do this for you, or is it going to feel heavy to do this for you? And if it's going to feel heavy, then I need to let life help you figure that out for yourself, which is hard.
No, it's hard to make boundaries and start living for yourself. And, and I mean, because I think that so many of us were taught that, serving others is the way to go, and give, and to lead and giving, and so it's hard to say, well, I have to take care of myself. And yet, we say it every time we get on an airplane, you need your air mask before you can give it to anyone else. I mean, it's no different. And, just because we choose to have kids or choose to have a career doesn't mean that we don't want any time for ourselves, or that we don't need to take care of ourselves. We still have that human condition with the physical body that needs certain things. Our emotions are not rational all the time, but they need certain things. I mean, and they're telling us certain things, I would get so resentful doing some of the things for other people, and I would get so mad, and I'd be like, why am I mad all the time? Because I was giving my power away. I was giving my time to other people. I was doing stuff that wasn't important or urgent for me, but it was for other people, you know, and that's one thing that we have to remember is other people's opinions of what we do doesn't make it true. You know, like we can make our own choices over whether or not we think that's important. My husband's ex-wife tells him sometimes, you know, I don't like the way that you're fathering. And he's like, I hear that you don't like the way I'm fathering, and I'm just okay with it. So don't know what to tell you.
Well, and I wonder how much of it, just with the way you said that, I wonder how much of it has to do with, you're right, so much of our, I'll speak for me at least, anyone who grew up, is about paying attention to others and being of service to others and being present for others, so that when something doesn't go the right way, well, my focus is already out on all these others. That's who I was working for. Surely it must be their fault as well. And until you come back and say, yes, okay, I'll take the time for myself and focus on myself, then I can start, then that turns that position inward to start find some of that responsibility and say, okay, this is about me and my choice, instead of that, you know, that wholly outward focus of I was working for others, therefore they're doing against me.
Yeah.
And that giving up that, I don't know, I was just the way you said that, I'm like,
yeah. Well, it reminds me of what Iyanla Vanzant says about it, is she says that, you know, you have to come with your cup full. And you can't come with your cup half empty, because what's in the cup is for me. Anything that flows out, I am happy to give, because that means I am already full. But without doing that, without asking people, you know, or telling people that, hey, my cup needs to be full, I'm not full right now, you're making thieves of them. Because they're stealing the things that you really need for yourself. They're stealing out of your cup, even though they didn't mean to. You're kind of forced. I mean, I grew up with somebody. It wasn't even letting, like it was forcing. Oh, I have to help. I have to help. And it's like, no, you don't. Stop helping. Because you just, I mean, because sometimes help is enabling, and it's not enabling the change that you want to see. It's enabling you not to have to feel bad. And you know, and what happens then, you know, and I'm sorry, my mother's a perfect example though, but she'll tell me, you know, I have to pay your brother's insurance, because if not, I would feel bad if he got into an accident. Okay, well, you can be angry that you're paying it, or you can feel bad when he doesn't have insurance. You know, you choose one or the other, and you don't have to feel bad. Like, that's a choice.
For sure.
Yeah. So great. So let's, I guess, finish it up there. But if you guys have any questions or anything, the Facebook group is up there. I'm happy to have any comments or questions or whatever posted up there. And we're also, like I said, next Sunday, we don't have a show scheduled, but Jen and Michelle, I believe, will be back the week after that. I'm not sure what our topic is.
Was it with the week after that? Yes.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, was it the week after that? I think yesterday it was.
2 weeks, because of the holiday. I didn't want to do anything next week. Right. But I might, because I'm going to start off the Netflix and TV. No TV. It's going to be a TV blackout detox. And it'll be on the group. So join the group and you'll see what people are doing every day. I'm going to come up with, I have a third of the way through of 99 things you can do instead of watching TV. That would help you grow more.
Excellent.
Yeah, there'll be some resources too, just in case we don't know what to do without Netflix anymore. All right, ladies. Thank you, Jen and Michelle, for joining.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Lila, come back anytime.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Thank you, ladies. Bye.